We'll add a little more color to it. Just a little bit of highlighting. A little bit lighter gray. Helps break up the monotony of the gray a little bit. I'm going to take that same light gray and go over all of your dried wood. It helps pick up the wood grain. Again, this is kind of a overbrushing slash damp brushing, whatever you want to call it. And I'll do a little bit of dry brushing at the very end. There's our main part of the building. We'll do the same to the roof. All right. And as a final step, you think I'd have it ready, but I didn't. We're going to add just a little bit of silver here and there. It's very much a dry brushing of that, and also completely optional. But it really does help pick out the metallic nature of your corrugated metal. Not sure how well it photographs, but... And again, you know, it's not anything... It's not rocket surgery how to apply it. You're not going to win a golden demon for this. It's just trying to get terrain on the table that people might say, hey, that doesn't look too bad. And this, again, is all just to taste. You know, experiment with it, see what you like. Mine, certainly not the only way to do it. My method is just how I do it. It's not right or wrong, it's just how I do it. Just be careful, try not to get your silver up on your wood. That looks a little odd. Alright, I'm going to use a final highlight of maple sugar tan. It's one of my favorite highlight colors. But any kind of light tannish, just use whatever you like. And that'll help kind of bring out the wood grain. Again, I don't know how well this photographs, but gives it a nice effect. One thing you do have to watch out for is when you're dry brushing like this, I get a little aggressive, so be careful not to catch the edge of something and just completely rip it off the model. Yeah. Don't ask me how I know that. Alright, so there is the basic building, and it's pretty much done paint job. So now we'll move on to the base. The basing scheme that I've been following with this project, and this is just how I do it, again, there's no real right or wrong here. I start out with a red oxide color. I build up to a nutmeg brown or a saddle brown, whatever you want to call it. It's just a brown with a little bit of red in it. And then finish that off with sometimes I use some ochre or our friend maple sugar tan, and it makes the ground kind of pop a little bit. So we'll build that up. You want to try to avoid having one color for your basing. If you can get at least 2, but sometimes 3 or maybe even 4, if you can go nuts, it'll really make your basing pop. And I know from hard experience that if your models aren't all that well painted, if your basing is nice, it really adds a wow factor and takes away from the fact that maybe your minis aren't painted so nicely. Of course, no matter how they're painted, if they have paint on them, you're way ahead of the other people who didn't even bother to put paint on their minis before they stuck them on the table. And again, I'm using this neat. I'm not watering it down. So you're just trying to kind of overbrush the grit on here. Just kind of highlight that, pick it up. And already we've got a little bit of depth. And you want it to be fairly even, but if you get a little heavy in spots, that's fine. We're going to put some static grass and some tufts on there, so if anything's too unsightly, you just cover it up. We'll just finish, correct it in post, as they would say. So we'll let that dry for a moment. We'll ready up. And we'll go with maple sugar tan. Now this final coat is more of a dry brush, and I'm one of those strange people that I use my hand for that, but I also lick my brushes to keep a point on them, so I'm obviously insane. But that really just picks up all of that grit and gives you that depth that you want. You want your base to look like it has some life to it, even if it's sort of dead, apocalyptic ground cover. But it's those little details that make your base come alive, really improve your minis. All right. So we'll tidy that up and we'll get ready to put some static grass and some tufts on there.